Hey, Music City Driver, otherwise known as Chris here. Thought I'd do a live stream for the Money Monday thing, just because I didn't actually drive that much last week. Ended up only driving Thursday and Friday only. Partially because and actually mostly because my brakes need work and they are grinding a bit. They still stopped fine, but I was afraid somebody would report me for having an unsafe vehicle and I get deactivated, and I just don't want to go through all that. So I'm not going to drive until I'm able to replace my brakes, which hopefully should be tomorrow evening. I'm going to go pick up rotors and pads from Napa, which strangely enough happened to be a little cheaper than AutoZone this time, interestingly enough. And I'm going to take it over to a friend's house because I actually don't have, I have a gravel driveway. I live in the middle of nowhere, so I don't have a garage or anything. That's in the works for the future to build a garage, but as it stands right now, I do not have a garage, so I thought it'd be best to do that. So, getting to the point here is Money Monday. So, last week I did mostly Uber XL with some X's mixed in and some Surges mixed in, a few Select, and I actually had a couple of Surged Select and XL. I really didn't have many Plus requests for Lyft, so it's kind of interesting. So the total that I made last week between Thursday and Friday, that's the only 2 days I drove, I actually came home I was home by about midnight or 1, something like that on Thursday, which is pretty late for me. Excuse me. And then Friday, I actually did get home pretty late or early, whichever way you want to look at it, about 5, 6 in the morning, something like that. But I made a total of $511.81, and how that breaks down, I don't have the screenshots this time, is on Uber I made $265.76, and on Lyft I made $226.05. I had a total of tips on there, which is combined on those two totals that I gave you, except I also got a $20 cash tip in addition to that. So the total tips I got was like $64 in tips. Like I said, that $20 is added into the $511.81. It's accounted for in there. But and then the $11 on Uber tips and $33 on Lyft tips are also incorporated in the Lyft and Uber totals. So from what I understand, I actually didn't miss a lot on Saturday night here in Nashville. Apparently it was kind of slow. I do believe we're coming to the end of the slow season, though. We got some events coming up relatively soon. The main one being this Saturday. Those of you who are not familiar, Nashville just got a Major League Soccer team, and the Nashville Soccer Club, NSC, is going to be playing a game at the First Tennessee Park in Germantown. So, and that's on Saturday in the morning, I believe. So that should have a lot of traffic. However, if it's anything like the Sounds games, it's going to be horrific getting to the pickups. It always manages to be excuse my French, cover your ears if you're sensitive, it always manages to be a clusterfuck whenever Metro Nashville police are involved, unfortunately. I don't know who they have that sets up the logistics for events, but I mean, I'm not saying I could do a better job, but somebody probably could. It just seems to me like everything is just a hassle. It changes at the last second all the time. And I know they have to adapt to differing circumstances. I mean, last week, it was horrible on, I think it was Friday night. 2 concerts let out at the same time. One at the Ryman, which was Luke Combs, and then there's this huge Christian music thing at the Bridgestone called Winter Jam or something like that. I think both of those things let out about the same time, and downtown was a nightmare to get in and out of. Luckily, I was able to get to the ladies I needed to pick up quickly and get out of there relatively quickly. They actually crossed the street for me to get across the street so that it was easier for me to get out. So I appreciate it, man. But that's going to be, thank you very much for watching. Is it Burger Time? I don't think I've seen you on there before. Thank you for watching my videos, man. I really appreciate it. So I didn't make a lot of money, like I said. Another thing that came up, and I may make another video about this, and that's something that the Entrepreneur actually made a video about, and maybe some other people have made a video about it now, is that Uber and Lyft are limiting your tips. So I haven't had the good fortune to hit that tip limit yet, but that is definitely something to think about whenever you're looking back at your tips and wondering how much you're getting and why they tip that amount. Of course, some of them come in odd amounts. I think in Nashville here they do a percentage tips, so you could end up getting like $7.68 or $3.42 or something weird if they do a percentage tip. So basically Uber came out and said, the CNET article is what I read, the one that was in the Entrepreneurs video. There's a couple of other articles floating around out there about the same exact subject, but Uber has officially said that they have capped the tip amount to 200% of the ride. So if you take a $40 ride, the most they could tip you is $80. But the problem there is that, of course, you take a $3 ride, that means the most they could give you would be $6. So I know that there are some minimum fares where people actually tip me quite a bit. Actually, on Lyft, in fact, I've been tipped several times more than the actual fare paid me, which is really interesting. I've got, like a $5 tip on a $3 ride. It's pretty awesome. Somebody pays $9, I think, and they give you a $5 tip just because they appreciate the service. I think that's awesome, and it's a generous thing, and I feel like Uber is preventing that generosity from happening, and it's to the detriment of drivers. So I mean, in order to go over that cap, the customer, the rider, passenger has to bring cash along, and not everybody carries cash nowadays. So I mean, there's also the alternative if you carry Venmo, there's Square card readers, there's PayPal, there's Facebook Cash, I think. There's the Cash app, but there's all kinds of stuff out there that you can accept, payments, accept tips via electronic means that is not through the Uber or Lyft app. So if they want to, tip you the maximum amount and then tip you more in cash or tip you more on one of those other apps, hey, that's cool. But I'm glad that they actually brought this to light. What was interesting in the article, it said that, and I might put a link to the article down here later, that the lady that was mentioned in the article, the guy wanted to give her a $20 tip, and he couldn't because it said that it exceeded the tip amount, but it didn't make sense because the fare amount that she had would have allowed for a $20 tip. So it's kind of weird. They said that if there was an issue with the app, and if they did encounter an issue like that, they should contact Uber support. I don't know what good that is going to do, because the customer and the passenger has already left and has already left their tip. So what good is that going to do? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. So anyway, to get back to this tipping thing, so in one video, which I recently did, you've got Dara Khosrowshahi, I think that's how you say his name, telling customers to tip, and tip aggressively, and tip a lot to ensure good ratings. And then you've got Uber capping the tips. So that's pretty annoying. I'm pretty mad about it, like the entrepreneur was. And the reason they gave was really just ridiculous. The reason that they gave was that so people didn't make a fat finger mistake by accidentally putting 100 or 1,000 on a $10 tip. I think that's the exact numbers they gave in that article, and that is just silly. I mean, there's no way people are going to make that kind of thing. Now, the biggest tip I've received, and I don't think it was a fat finger mistake, was $50. It was $50 on a $21.53 ride or something like that. The guy, it was a really good conversation. It was I waited around for his friends to arrive so that they could all travel together. It was an XL ride. He was a really nice guy. He found out what my day job was, and he had some. He really liked the institution I work for, and I think that probably led to me getting a better tip. just felt really generous. Either that or he was just really, really generous. And this was right, but not right before Christmas, but it was pretty close to Christmas. It was December the 9th, I believe it was. And like I said, he was pretty generous. Gave me I totally did not expect a $50 tip on that ride. I just happened to, I had actually gotten several back-to-back rides. I didn't know what my total was. When I finally got out of the last stacked ride and had a moment to gather my thoughts and, take a look and see what my earnings were, I was flabbergasted, honestly. It was like, wow, what the heck? Why is it this much? And I looked and I was like, $50 tip, holy crap. So yeah, that's by far the biggest tip I've gotten. I know people have gotten $100 tips, etc., but I was extremely happy to get a $50 tip. The most I ever usually get is like $20, and that's actually, I wouldn't say very rarely, but yeah, it's pretty rare. Most of the time, if it's cash, I'll get a 5 or a 10, maybe a $3. Actually, recently I got a $2 bill and 3 singles, which I gave the $2 bill to my son. I thought that was kind of cool. The guy gave me a $5 tip, and one of them was a $2 bill, which I honestly hadn't seen one of those in a really long time. I didn't honestly think they still made those, so pretty interesting. So I don't know what you guys think about the tipping. I don't see why Uber would, and Lyft. Actually, Lyft is even more stingy with the tip limit than Uber is, apparently. I think that you can't even exceed $50 on Lyfts, period. So, I mean, if you had a $100 Uber ride, feasibly, you could get up to $200 in tips if you wanted to. But on Lyft, that's not even possible. So if you gave a $100 ride, the most that you could get as a tip on the Lyft app would be $50. So that's even more stingy. So, and the entrepreneur said exactly what probably the reason is that if you have a goal set in mind, which most drivers do, they say, hey, I want to make at least $100, I want to make at least $200 or whatever. If you hit that goal quicker than you expected to, then you may quit early. And when you quit early, there's less drivers on the road, and then that's less revenue for Uber and or Lyft. So it totally makes sense that they would want to cap tips for that reason. But the fact that they cap those tips at all really kind of goes against the whole 180 days of change, where they're supposed to be focusing on drivers and making the driver experience better, etc. And if we're not employees, then why are you limiting things like that? If we are not employees. If we were employees, I could maybe see that, but I mean, when you go to a restaurant, they don't limit the amount that you can tip your server. In fact, I've seen some crazy articles where people got like $1,000 tips or whatever, some crazy tip amount. So, I mean, if restaurants don't even cap the amount that their servers can get on a check, then why is Uber and Lyft capping what we can earn on tips? It does not make any sense at all. So it's just another I guess, what am I trying to say? Another thing basically showing that we really don't have that much control as rideshare drivers. They set the rates. They set how much you can be tipped now. They set what type of rides you can take, which, obviously that makes sense because you can't take XL rides in a Honda Accord. But still, they set a lot of these guidelines for us. People could say they're just basically terms of service, terms of a contract, that you are a contractor and you have to abide by those contracts. But they're also stipulating things that, it seems to me, would be stipulations that come from an employer to an employee. And with Uber and Lyft both claiming so vehemently that drivers for Uber and Lyft are not employees of Uber and Lyft. They are simply contractors. They are, independent. If we're so independent, then why are you limiting our income? So that to me is a smack in the face to drivers all over the place. So anyway, so that's all I got for now, guys. I know there's 4 people currently watching. I really appreciate you guys for watching. I haven't been doing as many videos as of late. I don't know. I haven't really honestly paid a lot of attention to the ride-share news. I just happened to see the entrepreneurs pop up on there about the tip cap, and I figured I would mention that during the Money Monday. It seemed appropriate since I, tell my earnings, including tips, during these videos. So it's a really nasty night tonight in Nashville. I'm glad I'm not driving. I think I should be able to get my brakes fixed pretty quickly, but if not, I do have the fallback options that I hate, which are Uber Eats and Postmates. I do have those two fallback options in case I can't drive, because food doesn't care if there's noise coming from your brakes. So there's that. I just don't like delivering food. I just really don't, because it leaves this smell in your car of all these different mixed smells of different foods, cuisines. You pick up McDonald's, and then you pick up Italian food, and then you pick up Chinese food. I mean, just all these, it just smells horrible in your car the next day, especially the next day. When you're doing it, you don't really notice as much unless you get out of the car and get back in, and you're like, oh my God, I can smell food in here really bad. And if you deliver food, you probably shouldn't be picking up passengers after you have done so, because they're probably going to say something or probably rate you bad because your car doesn't smell good. People make comments all the time about my car smells good because I have these. I'll actually take it off of here. I have these little Yankee Candle things. They're pretty cool. It's like this oil. It smells really good. You can control the amount of flow that comes out of it. You put it on your vent, basically, and it blows the air through there and diffuses the scent, the fragrance throughout the air in the car. But people are always giving me comments, oh, it smells so good in here, blah, blah, blah. So it's not like super overpowering, but it's also enough that people can smell and notice that you have taken pride in your car and making it smell better. So I'm stuck in some traffic a little bit earlier. Now I'm actually moving along pretty well. I'm probably about to hit some dead spots where it'll show my connection is weak, so I may black out here and there. But I'm probably going to end the video on that note. So, not on the note of the fragrances, but with the tipping, capped tips. That's it. Really, I mean, I had suspected as much for a while, and I had heard that they capped your tips. But then I got that $50 tip, and I thought, maybe they don't cap it as much as I thought. But then I thought about it. That ride that the guy paid for was like $40-something bucks is what he paid for it. So he could have tipped me up to $80-something. So it makes sense. The $50 was below the cap. That's how I received the $50 tip on Uber. But if I had received that on Lyft, that would have been the maximum tip I could have received, unless they wanted to go way above and beyond, tip me $50 on the app, and then tip me in cash or via another electronic method later. So anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I'm going to try to throw up a link to that CNET article that discusses the tipping caps that Uber and Lyft have so graciously allowed to limit us with. I know. There's not many jobs that you can do so, flexibly and so little time and actually make as much money, probably. But when you count you take into account depreciation on a car and wear and tear and all that stuff, it honestly, and I've got a very bad connection. Yeah, I got a very bad connection, so I'm probably gonna have to end on that. But anyway, when you factor in all that stuff, it's actually a bit depressing when you actually calculate it all out, which is why I don't take as many Uber X rides or as many regular Lyft rides. I know a lot of people don't have that capability and that flexibility like I do. I feel very fortunate that I have a vehicle that allows me to do the higher capacity rides that pay a lot more. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. It's about 5:45, and I'm about 20-ish minutes away from home. I'm going to go home, relax. No Predators game on tonight. There was a crazy Predators game on last night. It was awesome. But anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Comment below about the tipping cap and what you think about it, and maybe even drop the maximum tips you have received, and let us know if any of them have exceeded $50 on Lyft or 200% of the fare for Uber. So all you got to do is basically multiply the total fare amount before Uber takes their cut. Basically what the rider pays. Take that, multiply it by 2. That is the cap that they have supposedly set. Let us know if you've exceeded that, or let us know if somebody was actually in your car, decided to tip you, ran into the limit, tipped you the maximum amount, and then added to it with cash or Venmo or PayPal or Square or whatever other method. So anyway, guys, I am out of here. If you're out driving, have a great night. I'm going to try to make another video or two later in the week. Like I said, I may make one specifically dedicated to the tip option, tip capping, but we'll see. So if you're out driving, guys, be safe and make some money out there. But above all, be safe and get home safe to your families every night. Guys, have a good night, and I will talk to you later.